before I do the install, because when I did the test install, I felt the gauge pot sat too low on the dash, the trim piece. So what I decided to do was to get this piece, and I had some ABS lying around. So I'm going to make two of these, so just to add some thickness. I might use one, I might use two, so a bit of a spacer. So I've just done a template, and I'm just gonna do it, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint these gloss black, so it again fits in and it looks nice. And yeah, so that's another thing that I'm doing, just to make it look like the gauge pod is almost floating on the dash, which I think will look really nice. So let's see how it goes. Right, now we have the rough shape. So I'm just gonna tidy it up so it looks good, and then it will be a time for test fitting. The other thing I've noticed, that these bolts that come with this kit are not suitable for what we're doing, these screws. So I'm gonna be using these basically, because I can't really screw into anything, and I don't want to risk penetrating something and damaging a wire. So I'm going to use these, and then I'm going to cut the ends off because I've got very limited space to work underneath it. So that's the plan. Let's keep going. Right, another update. So what have I done? So I've got this change of plans. I've decided to mount it straight within the cabin, simply because everything else is straight. So the vents are straight, the dashboard itself is straight. So to have that pointing at the drivers, although it's much nicer for the driver, I've decided to keep it straight purely for aesthetics. And even then I can still see it, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Worst comes to worst, if I don't like it, I still have a second one of these, and I can always twist it, and it's not the end of the world. So in terms of measuring this, the best way I found was with a verniers gauge. So I measured the distance. So it's about 3/4 of an inch away, because this bit is about 1.5 centimeters away from the edge, and because there's a light sensor here, I don't want to mess with that. So what I did was I left a little bit of a gap here, and then I measured the distance between this ridge and that ridge, using my tape measure 4 or 5 times, mark once, and then I divided that by 2, and I used the verniers gauge to leave a nice mark. Then what I did was I measured this distance here, again using the verniers gauge, divided by 2, and left a little mark. I don't know if you can see it, just in the middle. There you see it, just there. And then I line that up with there, and that gets me centered in the X direction. So that's the engineer in me. But then the problem is I still need to make sure it mounts straight in the whatever. Not the engineer in me. And basically I don't want it rotated. So then for that, what I did was I just placed it to where I think it was right. And then I quickly did a measurement using the verniers gauge in the Y direction. Yep, up and down. And once I was happy with that direction, I set the verniers gauge. And again, I just made a small mark. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a very small line which follows this line, which I'm assuming to be straight. It looks to be straight, so it helps me align this. So that's the process. Once I did that, I just quickly made some circles using a very thin circular file inside here, and now as you can see I have used an automatic punch to make the marks, and that's where I'm going to do the drilling. So let's get to it. So there we have it. It's perfectly straight. I'm very happy with that. You can see, and now I've just got to do a hole in here. Then I can put the spacer in there as well, if I so choose to. It doesn't have to look pretty. No one will be able to see it. So yeah, just got those things to do. Give you another update later on. So after I've done all of the wiring and getting everything ready, so now it's time to come and do the routing, depending on where you're from. So the obvious place where I'm putting this is right here. So I've taken the thing off, and there's existing holes here and here, but that's where the clips go. So I can't really run any of the cables and everything through there. Then I took this off, which is where my N gauge is, and I thought, well, you know, what can I do from here? So I have this like endoscopic camera, I guess you could call it, with a light, so which connects to my phone. So I felt a gap around here. You can see where this cable is going, just not here, but just behind the dash sort of area between the glove box. And I just started fishing the cable through, and I saw a bit of light here, and I think this will be just enough space. This will be just enough space for us to do our thing, to be honest. So yeah, that should work pretty well, I should think. So the clip locations, as I've sort of mentioned before, let me zoom out a bit. Here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. They were a bit of a pain to get out, but as long as you have these cable tools, you should be good. And what I did was I used these notches to determine where I needed to apply the pressure. So first I started off on one corner, moved to the other, and then I did these in here. And to be honest, you're gonna have to apply a lot of force, but don't worry, it didn't break, as you can see, and you should be good. And what other tips can I give? Oh, and you have to move this forward so it can unclip from here. To be honest, I don't know why they've got this, because it's in there pretty strong. So I might just end up filing these down, because I don't want to have to be removing this again and again, just in case I need to get to the gauges. I just want to be able to go in and go pop, and it should come out. So that's the plan. So because I've got two, this is the other one, I'm gonna not use my factory one, because I want to keep all of my factory stuff to one side, so that can go there. This is one I picked up from a junkyard, so this is the one I'm gonna modify. So we are actually getting somewhere. So yeah, let's keep going. Right, so another update. This is mounted. Cables and everything else is through there. So I did use the spacer, so you can see sort of how it's like floating a little bit in the top, and it just sits a little bit more sort of proud. It's getting a bit dark now, so I'm pretty much done for the day. We'll give you guys a detailed breakdown tomorrow. Peace out. All right, everyone, new day, quick update. So what I've had to do, I'm about to run the cables through, basically everything else through there. What I've had to do is I've had to depin the fuel gauge sensor cables, these four, because this connector is apparently a pain in the butt to undo. So I've just done it like this. Now I'm not sure if I should be running this cable through right now, because maybe I should really run it straight through the firewall first and then through here, but you know, we'll see. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Main thing is I just want to button up the dash. If this doesn't fit, then I'll just snip the cables and take it from there, really. But I wanted to avoid that and do my best to avoid that. So this is where we are. So what I've done, this is the endoscopic camera. Just got a cable, fairly strong cable. Use some electrical tape, put a little loop on it, and I'm just going to feed that through, and then I can start running cables, basically. So yeah, I'm just going to start doing that. So there we are. So remember, the fuel one is the only one that's going to go this way because of the way I did it. So if you look, I fed in another yellow cable, so again I can use that to then pull through. And this is the existing yellow cable that I've run, and you can see how I've sort of packaged it so it doesn't have anything to snag on. And yeah, so this cable's run. Now I just got to do the others in here. Replug everything into the clip and plug that into the fuel pressure sensor, and then I will be done in this area, and I will store all the cables in here for now in the glove box. and I will leave the N gauge in here. I could have run this cable, or use this cable to run other cables through and power them off from this one here, but I don't want to. I know where there's a source of ignition and the parking lights, because I want my gauge lights to come on with the parking lights. So I will plug the LEDs in with the parking light. That's just part of my diode dynamics lights. And then the power for the ignition, the oil sender, I will do with it should come on with the ignition. So that's how that'll work. So yeah, I've got a lot of cabling to do, but I'm just going to leave that in there for now. And then I have quite a bit of work to do under the front bumper and do the brakes and do the suspension install, which is also electrics. So I will do all of that in one go. I might actually just run another cable from the fuse box to power all these systems rather than rely on the existing cabling, just to be on the safe side in terms of a fire hazard. So yeah, this is the progress. I'm just going to do the rest, mount it on there, and yeah, let's do it. So I did the GPS install for the Tein. You can see there I just cut a little square out and pushed it in. I ran the wires again with my gauges, so if you want to find out more about those, you can have a look. So basically the cable comes under here, through here, into the glove box, and then I've got it through like a little hole here. And then I decided that I wanted to put this controller here, sorry. And the best way I thought I could do it was just to drill a hole, pull the cable through for the controller under the dash, and you know, just get it going basically. So that's what I'm doing, and I'll let you see guys, show you guys how it is once it's done. But basically what I'm doing right now is getting all the wiring and all the gauges stuff sorted out inside the cabin, and then I will run it all through the firewall at once, and it'll be all sorted there, and yeah, take it from there basically. So update, managed to fish the wire through. It's not as easy as you would think. It's actually quite a tight fit, but it's still easier than getting the console off. I really had to yank first. Let me show. I ran the air line that I had left over from the Autometer gauges, and I got this cable through because it's slightly thinner, and that thinness matters, and it's a bit more flexible. I then had to de-pin the controller because it was just too big and it wouldn't go, and the cable then managed to go through there. And then I've just done a little cut in there, and it's gonna be double-sided taped onto there. So, and then this cable's come out nicely where it needs to. And I think a lot of my stuff is just gonna stay in this glove box because I've never used it for anything. And it will be easily accessible as well. So that's what I'm gonna go for. So I'll keep you guys posted. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome again. I'm picking up where I left off. So it's been about 11 months. I think the last time I worked on the boost gauge, oil pressure gauge, and fuel pressure gauge was on the 22nd of June 2022. Today is mid-May. I don't really want to look at the date, might stop the recording. But anyway, so things sorted out, but it had been so long that I completely forgot what each one was, so I had to just quickly take that off and read all into it, and I made notes for the future. And the next phase is obviously going through the firewall. So I've drilled a hole, as you can see, and so this is for the right-hand drive UK version only, but the same methodology will apply if you need to go through the firewall on any 27 6th gen Mustang behind the battery basically. So I'll drill that hole, and the best way for assurance I found was, first of all, obviously just to have a good look, make sure you understand the space. There's some insulation which needed cutting off, and then what I did was I got this hole punch sort of tool. So once I had a very good idea of where I wanted to go, I just poked this through from the inside. Yeah, this will make sense. From the inside, and I gave it 2 or 3 taps, like, because it's spring loaded, when I gave it 2 or 3 taps with the spring loaded action, what happens is on the other side you get a bulge, right? So naturally the metal bends a little bit. You won't be able to see it, but you'll certainly be able to feel it with your finger. So that told me where I was, definitely on both sides. And then based on that, I've drilled a hole, as you can see there. Now, because I'm running so many cables through, particularly for the suspension system as well, I reckon I'm gonna need 2, maybe 3 holes. So I'm just gonna do those because I want one dedicated to the boost line, etc, etc. The other thing that, as I've been doing this, is this is the location of your pollen filter. So bear in mind, if you're running wires straight through there, you're gonna have a problem with changing out your cabin filter or your pollen filter. So to get around that, I will have a separate hole for the boost line with enough slack that I can still undo this and get the pollen filter out. And then I'm just gonna put like a little clip here for all of the cables so I can disconnect them, change my pollen filter, and be on my merry way basically. So yeah, this is the progress update. It's not difficult to drill. The key is just to make sure that you drill in the right place, and to be honest, that's about as perfect as it gets, even if I do say so myself. The other bit of advice I would give, obviously there's water that comes here, so you don't want to be right at the bottom. Yeah, you want to be up so the water doesn't get in there, or doesn't have an opportunity to get in there. The drain is pretty good. I don't think it'll ever get blocked, but you know, you never know. So yeah, catch you guys in a minute. Right, quick update. Quite a lot has been done, but it's just slow work. So this is where I've drilled the 2 holes. So one for my boost line, which needed to be quite a bit bigger than the cabling hole. So that's the one at the top. And then I've been busy crimping, soldering, and adding connections. So I've added these connections to all the different bits of wire so that when I need to do the pollen filter, I can disconnect them, or if I just need to disconnect them, I can disconnect them. So it's just giving greater flexibility, and you can just see the 2 holes there. I'm just gonna tidy this up, and then yeah, I can have the wires in the beyond the firewall and the engine compartment. And I'm gonna pause that for the day because I need to figure out how to do the wiring, etc, etc, which fuses to tap into. But and then I need to install my fuel pressure sensor and my oil pressure sensor as well. I'll probably do that when I do my oil service. So this is it for now. Right, so I've just done a bit of a tidy up. Progress has been made inside here as well. So I'm just going to show you guys from out here what I've done. So I ended up doing 2 holes. The top one is like 20 millimeters, and the bottom one is just for the boost gauge line because I don't want it becoming compressed. And then I just put a grommet around them, around the metal bits. And then I've got some high heat silicon sealant. So this is good for like 350 degrees or 400 something Fahrenheit. So this should make sure no water goes in. And then right now I've just got the cables all along here. I need to sort that out. The boost line I've sort of plugged in. It just goes around there. So I need to figure out a routing for that. Not a big deal, but yeah, there's a lot of cables there. So I just need to label them up, and I'll revisit it. Basically the battery box is gonna go here. Don't cut this no matter what you do, because water goes down here and goes there and then drains into this hole. So it goes on there, drains into this hole. So we don't want to cut that, otherwise your battery box is going to get soaked. So yeah, took a long time trying to do all the cable management. Let me see if I can show you guys because it's getting a bit dark. See how good this camera is, but yeah, you can see the cable management in there. And then there's like a piece of carpet there which I've just removed completely, and then yeah, the cables go straight out. I left a lot of slack, you can see it's just hanging there, because I didn't want it to get in the way of the pollen filter. But again, I'm just going to tie it to one side with the harnesses, just cable tie them and it'll be fine. And yeah, so why have I got so many cables? So I've got the gauge lighting and ground, then the various senders, and I've got two big ones over there for the Tein EDFC active that's going to go on there. And I've still got to extend that one because once I put the battery box in, I don't really want to take it out. So yeah, catch you guys in a bit. Right, another day, more work on the wiring. So what have I done? I got the wiring through there. Then to get it around here neatly, because of my supercharger and my special bracket, which I used a Roush one in the end, and I had to cut it a bit. But anyway, I got the cables through here, so I had to cut the battery box a bit, but that's okay. They come nicely through this hole here. And then the boost line is connected, so as you can see, into there. And then I've just been doing some checking, so it seems all of these fuses with the ignition or accessory on. So once you press the ignition key, they come to life, they're dead otherwise. Easiest way to check them is with a multimeter. Put it next to DC, voltage, and then these little pins here, you just put the positive one on there, put the black one on an exposed nut. I use that one over there, and then it reads the voltage. So that's where we're going to get our power from. I'm just doing the extension of the fuel pressure sender wiring. I've gone overkill on the wire length, but I'd rather have more so I can tuck it away, what have you. This is my boost one, it's just hanging there. I'll do something about that, maybe bring it in from here, cable tie it, make it, just hide it as much as I can. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, just getting on with it, just about to solder these 1, 2, 3, and then I'll do a quick test drive. In the meantime, you can see all under here is nice and clean. All in here, and I've got a little dimmer as well for my gauge pot autometer again, just a little potentiometer really. So yeah, we're making progress. That's blurry now. Yeah, we're getting there. Right, so the oil sender is on. You can see how it works in the EU cars. So I bought a Mishimoto plate with a bolt sort of hole there. Then I had to buy an adapter to fit a 1/8 NPT fitting, and then I got a 45-degree elbow, which is placed it just right. And you can see how the cable, as I talked previously, sort of goes to the ground there, and then positive. It has to go to an engine ground because the sender grounds through the threads. And I've got some Permatex high temperature sealant on all of the threads as well. And then I also applied some Loctite RTE gasket maker just to be sure that there were no leaks. So yeah, this is all good to go. Right, so the install is complete. Yeah, you can see the cabling then goes underneath this trim piece and into there. So the fuses that I've used are these two here. They come on and off with the accessories. Come on, don't do this to me. There you go, it's locked. That's fine. But yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna test it, see if it works, but first I gotta tidy everything up, so I'm just gonna do that and get back to you guys.